Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, a podcast about role-playing games and the weird, wonderful people behind them.
Hello Weirdos, this is Diogo Nogueira again, and today our guest is a very special person, a friend of mine, a fellow Brazilian role-playing game designer. I'm talking about Cezar Capacle, someone that has been doing games for a long while, and it's an example to me of dedication and doing what he loves. We talked about his journey to leaving a job and seeking accomplishment as an RPG designer in another country, how he adopted a different lifestyle, how his upbringing affected him, how he found himself in Buddhism and in other philosophies, and how we deal with mental health, how we deal with the creativity process, how we deal with criticism as a creative person, as an artist, and how all of this affected the way he creates games and his philosophy of creating a new game and exploring new ideas all the time and never really stopping to look back too much because he might question his ideas, so he explored his creativity in a very spontaneous ways. It was a very cool chat, a very insightful chat. I learned a lot. We talked about many great things, about books, about art, about creativity, about ourselves, about our community, and how it is to be weird and authentic. It was very lovely. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. So let's get weird with Cezar Capacle. Hello, Cezar. First of all, thank you for coming to Weird Games and Weirder People. First of all, how are you, my friend?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me. I'm having a nice and chill autumn Sunday here. Well, actually, it's just like 20 degrees outside, which I think is like 68 Fahrenheit for our American friends. So yeah, just chilling on a nice Sunday. One of the few days that I don't usually do anything design related. I just like to save Sunday to talk with people like you and participate on podcasts. Only if I'm releasing something that I actually work on designs on Sunday. So yeah, it's a chill day.
Yeah, that's very wise of you, like to save one day to rest. I don't know. I always think about doing this. Like, oh, I won't work on Sunday, but it always gets restless. And I do small things. Like today, I'm recording this podcast with you, so I always, do I count this as my creative work of the day or not? Is this recording? I don't know. But I read. I'm working on some commissions, so I read a little bit today. So I'm counting reading as creative work because that's
what I do too. We can't turn it off completely, right? But I try to focus on something different that I have been doing during the week, just to give it a little shift in perspective and perhaps exercise a different part of my brain, even if it's a creative part, but in a different way. So I think it's healthy.
Yeah, it can be, even if a creative day could be a reflective creative day. Instead of you making stuff, you could read and watch stuff and go for a walk. There was one day I went to the forest, and here in Brazil, forests are more like kind of jungles because it's very hot and humid, and it's very, very inspiring for Primal Quest. So I just went to the park with my kid to the forest and just walking there, going to caves and seeing this place, and kind of it's already kind of creative because start thinking about the environments and things you can do in the game, and I think it's very cool.
Yeah. And how. Especially because how weird the creative process is. Sometimes you are soaking in a reference that is not directly related to anything that you're doing at the moment, but at a point in the future, you connect some dots, and that experience that you allowed yourself to have becomes an idea for something else. So I think we are always open to influences around us. So it's good to take in and shift perspectives a little.
I think, as you said, like I think the ideas go to our subconscious mind. I like this thing that Still Like Our Artist says, Dawson Cleo, that those ideas are like kind of our morgue of ideas, and we're like Frankensteins, and sometimes we open our morgue and we get the arm from this idea and the head from that other one, and we just make our new Frankenstein and release it in the world.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. you were saying that you were having a very nice day, 20 degrees, and here in Brazil, we're like going through a very rough hot streak. And
Yeah.
just on Friday, right near me, we had like 48 Celsius. I don't know
Oh
how much that
my
is
God.
in Fahrenheit because nobody uses this. I don't know why Americans insist on using Fahrenheit, but
I
anyway.
don't know either. It's a lot. It's
yeah.
a
Yeah, it's
120,
probably
I guess. Something.
120 or something, and it's
Yeah.
getting worse on December, so I don't know how it will be. Today, a cold mass came in and it's going to rain heavily, and the temperatures will fall a little bit, but it's going back up. But yeah, one of the
Yeah,
things I would like to do is get to a place that I don't melt on a daily basis, you know.
yeah, I'm very fortunate here. I no small part of the decision to move to Madeira Island was the weather, really, because it's the summers are mild. It's between, I don't know, 20 to 26, 28. So we're talking 68 to, I don't know, 80 something, 90s. And the winter is 12 minimum and 22 maximum.
Yeah,
So it's always mild, except like, climate change, we can't escape. And
yeah,
this year we had, for the first time like in 60 years, I think it's the highest temperature ever registered here was around 36, 37.
wow,
But still
yeah,
nothing compared to what I have seen in Brazil, or even the heat waves that we had in like the Mediterranean and South Spain
yeah,
and South France. That was over 40, 45. And yeah, it's getting crazy. But in general, this the whole year here is like a t-shirt during the day and a light jacket during the evening. So we're
yeah.
very fortunate in this way.
Yeah. Well, for now at least,
Mm-hmm.
it's coming for us all, I
For
think.
now, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we can escape.
Yeah.
That's for
Well,
sure.
Cesar, one thing I always like to do here is ask for our guests to introduce themselves, say who they are, what they do, and if they can share a small weird detail about themselves. So we
Right.
hear from your mouths your vision of yourself. So please, Cesar, if you can do that.
Okay, of course. So my name is Cezar Capacle. I'm a Brazilian game designer, as my fellow friend Diogo Nogueira here, which is one weird thing that we can notice right from the get-go, that we're both Brazilians, but we're talking in English. So that's
Yeah.
a particular funny thing. And I'm a full-time game designer now. I've been doing it for 3 years. I left my job. I worked for the government back in Brazil, and I quit
Wow.
my job because of burnout, and I decided to pursue a career in game design. At the same time, I went to Italy to go after my Italian citizenship, which now I got it. So I
Nice.
decided to give it a go and try a better quality of life elsewhere. And we chose almost randomly a place, and we arrived at Madeira Island, which is a tiny little island in the middle of the ocean. It's part of Portugal, technically, but it's like 1,000 miles away from the continent, from mainland Portugal. We're closer to Morocco than to Europe, but it's Portugal. It's still the same flag, same rules, same language. And I think that's a particular weird thing about me is I believe I'm the only game designer in the island. I think I've never seen other people talking about it. There is a Discord server for Portuguese RPG players. And I've seen people producing a lot of things in Portugal, of course, but mainland Portugal, and I haven't found anyone here in the island, which is curious. But yeah,
Time to find a
sometimes,
puppy, yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that'll be good. It's so yeah, it's 270,000 people in a 50 by 30 kilometers little grain of sand in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. That's what I call home these days.
Wow, nice. That's a great change of life. It was something I've thought about a lot. I don't know if you know this. I work for the government too, for the city of Rio de Janeiro. I don't like my job. I try to find stuff that can help me keep it there because of the security and stuff. But I thought of doing something very similar to you. I have Portuguese citizenship. I thought about moving there and try to live off games too. But it's scary. I mean, you're very brave for doing this, and I'm really happy for you to be doing this. And you found a great place. But I have one question about this: how hard it is to get RPG books in Madeira Island?
Oh, it's I gave up on that absolutely, completely. I had to. I mean, they can if you're willing to pay for shipping and weight, because it goes to mainland and then it comes back by ship, and it's very expensive. And also, I had to adopt a very minimalistic style of life. Part of this change was giving up on a lot of material things. So I had a decent collection of books back in Brazil, like 200 RPG books, and I sold everything before I came. I sold most of my stuff. All my life had to fit 3 suitcases, and now I live in a tiny studio apartment. It's 30 square meters, which is 320 square feet for the Americans. You see, Americans, what you keep doing to us.
We
have to convert.
I can't. It's meters. What feet? Come on, feet, man. You're not. It's meters.
So anyway, we live in a studio apartment. I'm now in my kitchen, which is also my office and my living room and my bedroom and my laundry room. So I didn't even have space for everything. So I decided to adopt a minimalist lifestyle. I don't own stuff at all. I rented a full furnished apartment. I have my computer, my headset, my phone, and clothes, and a guitar. I bought a guitar back here to keep practicing a little bit. But the rest, I kind of had to give up on that. So I buy PDFs when I'm willing to study a new game or play a little bit. But I couldn't even fit a shelf here in my new lifestyle. So that was I miss the smell of books, the physical sensation of books. But in another way, I've always felt that we have too much stuff in general.
Absolutely.
I've read once that the average American family has 300,000 items in their houses.
Well,
from pens to books to everything.
Americans are the greatest of getting stuff they don't need.
Hoarder.
Masterclass at that.
And when I started preparing things to move here, Diogo, I was going through my stuff and saying, oh my God, I have just so much stuff. And I feel that everything that you own is like you're carrying them in a trolley everywhere you go. It's like it's a weight that you have on your shoulders because you're always worried about your stuff and you're always collecting. So I read a lot and I decided that I didn't want it for my life anymore. So that was freeing in a way and very economic in another way. So, being a full-time game designer is like I make like a third or a fourth that I used to make. And so that had to change it a bit too. So, but I don't regret it. It's pretty good.
I think a lot of things in life, we sometimes project all this negativity, but when we go through it, it can be good in a lot of ways. And I always think, when I was thinking about leaving my day job in the government and try to live off games, I had this idea too. I would have to at least see half of my stuff here and be focused way more on digital. And of course, we have too much stuff. Like everybody has stuff in their house that they haven't touched in like 5 years, 10 years, depending how much you live there. And I have, cases here and in my closet stuff that, Dragão Brasil magazines that I haven't touched it for, I don't know, 15 years. I had them all. Years, And now I have them digital. And then honestly, nowadays, I don't think they are that good. So I have to sell. I have to, let go of stuff. Like it's very good for you, letting go of stuff. And this minimalist choice you made means you are giving up so much, but you are able to take so much. Like you don't have to care about all this stuff because we're always thinking about all the stuff that we have to preserve, we have to keep it, we have to get more. And that has a really heavy weight on your mind. So I think maybe this could have helped you with. Did you feel any help with your mental health as you let go of all this stuff, or for you it was the same thing?
No, absolutely, 100%. And it kind of opens space for other things, and not stuff, not material things, but experiences. Like you feel literally lighter.
Collect experience and memories, not stuff. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. I am trying to be more than to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this has helped a lot. And moving and after the experience of having to get rid of all the stuff that we accumulated, almost 10 years we lived in the last place in Brazil, and seeing how hard that was, not only the letting go part, but what do you do with all the stuff? You can't sell everything. You can't donate everything. There's stuff that is hard even to throw away. You don't know how or when or where. So I said to my wife, and after that experience, let's make a commitment to never do this again. Never accumulate our lives up to that point again. And it's been nice. Of course, we eventually bought some quality of life stuff for the kitchen, you know, small things that help us, but not the act of fulfillment through purchase. You know, it never lasts. And it's a dopamine boost for like 35 minutes.
And doesn't last at all. It doesn't last at all. I know I do this thing. Like I don't know, you're bored, you feel empty or something bad happened, and you receive an email for someone, oh, my RPG game is on sale, and I buy it. I know I maybe won't play it or something, but it's, I don't know, I have a problem with RPGs. First of all, I want to support all these people, all my friends, but you know, it's hard. I don't need all of this. Like I have, I don't know, 20 covers of this CRPG. Why do I have 20 covers? I don't know.
I'm not sure if I
have to get rid of some.
If I'm in a position of having like a nice bookshelf of RPG books in the future, I perhaps would do it. But I think
my excuse is research. No, it's research, honey. It's my work, you know. Because I don't do that with other books. Like I read a lot of philosophy books. I'm reading stuff from prehistory because of Primal Quest and studying native people, original people. But I'm buying them in Kindle because they're more reading material, and RPGs are more playing material. So I want to have them because the OSR screwed me, because the OSR made think as book as something you have to use on the table. Because back then, like, you know, in the 90s, we would read these books, they would stay on the shelves, we would play them without the books because they didn't have stuff for us to use on the table. So that I think those would be easy for me just to have in PDFs. But I love now how people make the books usable on the game. So
you have it open, rental tables and stuff. I like those too. That's for sure.
And the other thing is since nowadays everything is digital, my kid wakes up and we have to force him to stay a little while of screens because it's addicted and stuff. And having physical books and read them in front of my kid, for me, it's something important to show him we don't have to have a screen on us all the time, you know. So for me, those are the hard things with getting rid of the books. But you know, I'm trying to reduce other stuff, other kind of books. I mainly keep RPG books and art books, but literature and theoretical stuff, digital.
That's one thing I'm struggling with this adaptation is really staying away from screens, because sometimes I want to relax and read a game, and I just took a break from work, and my break would be going back to screen to read a PDF. So I've found partial solutions with tablets that are the screen is a little
paper
less
white
bright.
Stuff like this, right?
Those kinds of things. But I don't think the technology is still there. I have seen some improvements in colored e-ink e-readers.
I
That
haven't seen
seems
those yet.
promising,
Yeah.
but I think it's a year away when we can read like a quality PDF from an RPG book that relies on colors and layout. I can imagine like today reading Cosmosaurus in an ebook reader, because it would
black and white.
it does it just doesn't do
Yeah.
it. And but I think we're getting closer to that, and I'm excited for this, because that would be my RPG collection in a thing that I can carry in my backpack. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and it's good for our health too, because I remember playing D&D third edition, fourth edition, and carrying like I'm gonna play at somebody's house and put out everything on my backpack.
Oh
and
my
no
God.
wonder I had to use those things when I was a kid, because do you remember Mamonas Assassinas?
Oh yeah, I do.
And we have the music, Robocop gay. And yes, people would call me Robocop gay because of
the collar.
Yeah, of course.
Come on, of course they would do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, kids are terrible, so
Kids
yeah.
are mean. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. That's a lot of stuff to think about. Like minimalist. The fun thing for me is that everything you're doing was the stuff that I wanted to do. So yeah, I'm living vicariously through you. So thank you. Yeah, that's great.
No problem, man. It's not without its challenges, but
I definitely recommend. Yeah, that's something that's something that I am scared to today, to turn the thing that I love in my work. But I don't wanna scare you. I'm really cheering for you. But do you worry about this stuff? Do you deal with anxiety with this, or do you?
Absolutely. Like there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about quitting and like finding a regular job. So but you kind of get used to dealing with this kind of stuff, because one of the
I saw your posts
had
about this, and I wanted to check with you how you're feeling. Do you do anything to counteract this kind of negative thoughts? That we all have this, but sometimes I don't know. I know I have conditions that make me go to those places often, so I try to seek practice to help me get out of this. Do you have anything like this?
Yeah, I do. It gets to a point that's most of the times it's financial pressure, because you leave a mental place more than the job. It's the mental place of the security of having a salary at the end of the month, and then you have to go back to this way of at the start of every month you have to do it all over again. Otherwise, by the end of the month, you won't have the means necessary to support your family and everything. So that can be stressing. I'm not at a point of other game designers in which the sales of games are more constant, or they can raise like larger amount of money in Kickstarters and everything, that you can go for like 3 or 4 months just fulfilling that project. Mine is more of a monthly based kind of deal. So it can get stressing sometimes. But I was worried when I started this career that it would spoil my pleasure with making games. The thing they say, work with what you love and you'll never love anything again.
Yes.
But that, I can assure you, didn't happen at all. Like, I love what I do. I look forward to Monday mornings. That's something that the money can't buy, I want to start working on Mondays. I want to open my computer and start doing the stuff, even after 3 years of doing this full time, and with the pressure of finances and money and everything. I still love what I do, and it hasn't spoiled a bit. I think part of it comes from the fact that I made my own way of publishing games, which is I exclusively do what I want to do. I don't work for a company in games. I don't respond to like customers or clients that hired me to do stuff. So I have a weird and crazy idea about a game.
You don't do freelancing at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've done 3 or 4 times during my career, and including one for you, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But
I have to publish this.
Those are.
Was it so bad? Why do you don't like doing freelance at all?
Anxiety.
I get it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get it. Yeah. Of course.
It is. It's
I'm
very
stubborn
simple
and
to
I
explain.
just battle with it. Yes.
It's very simple to explain. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
Having to like fulfill the expectation of someone about my work within a certain structure, within a certain timeline, and
On
you
other people's terms, on other people's rules, on other people's
yeah,
way of thinking. Yes.
and you
Very
have
anxiety
this.
driven. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was very fun to do, and you're very generous with your feedback and everything. But every time that I think about doing that, it fills my heart with anxiety of trying to fulfill someone else's expectations about my work and feeling that perhaps it's not as good as that I could be. And then you like strain yourself more than you needed to just to make sure that the project is as good as it could.
Yeah.
Whereas when you do something that's just out of your mind and you just publish it, and it's freeing. So I think I kept my sanity working with RPGs because I did it in my terms. I don't mess with physical production and getting things printed and shipped all over the world that I know it can be very stress inducing because it's out of your control. So yeah, I think summing up, what I try to do is to reduce to the minimum the aspects of my work that are outside of my control so that I don't have to deal with anxiety of things not going the way I want. So hiring people or shipping or producing physically or commission, all of those things insert elements that I don't have control over that would lead to more stress because I know myself. So I try to do my weird little games that are like 40 to 80 pages long and do it my way, do it on Canva with public domain art and just be free and have fun because I still want to be having fun with my stuff. If I stop having fun, then it's not for me anymore.
Yeah, I feel that so much, but I don't know. I try. I still try it, but I see that the expectations every time I do stuff for others is always because people all have the expectation what you can do, and when you do something else and you have always to fix it, and you're never always pleasing, and it's not pleasing you, not pleasing them, and you spend so much time fixing this, and your own projects get left behind, and you feel like you're working a lot, but your stuff you wanted to do is not moving ahead at all. And yeah, that's one of the things I had a burnout last year for things like this. So I still do freelance nowadays, but I take way less. I'm learning how to say no, and that's something really important to do. But
yeah, and we know that for the other part, the part hiring us, it's not that crazy. You've been to both parts, but we ourselves put those kinds of pressures on doing it. Like
it's on our heads too. It's a lot on our heads. I know that completely.
Yeah, of course you can have people that hire you that are not very nice people, but usually that's not the case. It's like just people that admire your work and want to work with you.
Well, Cezar, now one of the main questions that I ask is, can you define weird for you, and why are you interested in it, and how do you pursue that in your work?
Yeah, sure. I think that I've never met a normal person in my life. I think there are
I say no one's normal. Yeah, no one's normal.
Exactly.
Some people can hide it better, than can camouflage with the other weirdos that are camouflaging too. But
yeah, there are two kinds of people: weird people and people that you don't know yet, know well enough. And I think that I try to nurture the weirdness, and what I think it's weird is like the way that you are more authentic. Because there are some standards and perhaps norms or societal norms or things that are ingrained in our behavior and everything that we consider as quote unquote normal, but it's not. But it's all the things that make we function as a society, some ground rules and everything. But when we allow ourselves to express ourselves in the most unique and authentic way, that's where I like to see the weirdness coming out, that specific thing that makes a work of art or a way that somebody expressed themselves very unique to them. And this is invaluable to me, when I get like a new game on itch and a very, very strange experimental games, and I go through the pages and say, oh my God, I would never be able to come up with an idea like this. Not because I don't think I'm capable of, it's just because it's a different kind of weird that this singular author, this singular person has expressed in a brilliant way. And this is what admires me the most. What keeps me excited about this medium that we chose to express ourselves is that there are innumerous ways to be peculiar, to be experimental, to be weird, and to have fun. And those have to be nurtured, and that's how I define weird in my life. That's what I try to achieve in my work. Different ways to be authentic, to express what is true about myself in that moment, because that changes a lot too, right? Your philosophies of game design, the things that are influencing you at that very moment in your life, the things that you're excited about. And those combine with those floating things that we talked about earlier, the references that we get. And then when they collide, we get something new, something that is peculiar, something that is unique. And that's how I find fun in the work that we do.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's a way of seeing game design as an art form that some people still battle, but I think it's getting, solidified in our culture. And I think it's a very nice way. I think about this a lot, that the weird, it's really our essence. It's how people see it weird because we're breaking from the standard, from the hegemony that we're thinking everybody's like this. And when we get to be ourselves, our true selves, reveal what makes us tick, what makes we love, what makes us think this way and believe this stuff. And we start to share in this. And even though it's, as you said, you see a game, it's, I would never think about this. But it touches us because it's authentic. It's kind of, it's us in some way,
Yeah.
It is us. At the same time, it's not us because we never have thought of this, but it's so unique that we identify parts of ourselves in this. Even it's different, it's equal to us because it's different, because everybody's different. I don't know. I always say this. Yeah. I say this to my kids, and like, everybody is different, but that's why everybody's the same. That's why we have to treat everybody as it was us, because we are all different, and that's why we are all the same, because we're all different manifestations of the same thing. I don't know. If I were that person, I would be that person. If I were you, I would be doing the exact thing as you would do,
And I really dig what you said about being touched by the authenticity, even though perhaps it's not even your thing. I've read games that I was 100% sure that I would never want to play them, but still I was moved by the way it was made. It was of so peculiar, so unique that it touches you, even though it's very different from you, because what you said, because it's authentic, it's true of the person. And I seek those kinds of things. I'd rather read a game that is not my jam, but I can feel that authenticity, than the 100th variation of the same
D&D,
things. The same things that I used to. Okay, I would play that. It's okay, it works, but and also there's
you don't feel touched by another human being, like you. This is really this person putting a part of her, something that is important to that person in that game, and I can see it and can touch and I can experience it, and I can feel some connection to them, and I think that's it.
And some people associate the word weird to something that perhaps is shocking, not just different. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think if you make a game about a mouse drinking tea on a tea shop and reflecting on the ghosts of their past lives, that's not necessarily shocking, but it's very weird, and also something that I would be very interested into. And it express a part of things that perhaps are going through your mind at the moment. So reflection of our origins or
Yeah.
downtime, the ability to reflect on things that happen to yourself, and those expressions, those of authenticity, I think that they're invaluable.
Yeah. One thing I sometimes say here in the podcast is that back in the 80s, 90s, or back then, the weird would have this negative connotation that's shocking, it's wrong, it's not the standard, because we ourselves were like this. Like nowadays, we're much more open to being diverse, to being ourselves, to exploring new ideas. And the weird now, as I try to say here, trying to see in a more positive way, the weird is the new wonderful. And I think it's like that. Like back then, people still see weird as something negative because they still see the parts of themselves that are weird as something negative, because they grew up hearing that, oh, this is wrong. So that I think it's
you
almost
have to fit in.
Yeah, it's almost subconscious when people see weird as something negative, because they still can't accept the parts that are weird about themselves, and that's why it's hard to accept on others. But when we're starting to accept how weird we are, it's much easier to accept the other person as weird. But
that's true. That's definitely true. We try to subconsciously, I guess, or through education or through societal norms, to acknowledge like trying to fit in is the way to go, because you don't want to stand out as something that can be pointed at and everything. But that's a very uncomfortable position to stay for long. You can do it for a while, but it kind of it consumes you, right?
It does.
I don't recommend. I do not recommend at all. And that goes to game design. And I've been approached by people that are starting to make. They're trying to make their own games for the first time, and sometimes they start by asking, do you think this game, the people would like this game, it's going to have an audience, do you think it's going to be able to sell? And I say, you know what, don't worry about it. That's not the approach that you should have on your first game. Especially, just do the thing that you wanted to exist. You want this game to be part of the creative world that exists, so do that, follow that, your passion. And no matter how unusual you think your idea is, first of all, it's very likely that someone else thought about it before perhaps in a different way. And second, and most importantly, there will be more people that are into the same weird stuff that you are, and you're gonna find eventually somehow some people that connect with the thing that you're doing. And I have, even after publishing more than 30 games, I have to remind myself of that at times. When I have this weird idea and I want to pursue the development of a game that I'm not sure people will like, and I have to remind myself that, okay, it happened before, it will find its public. I just have to follow what is true for me at this moment and let it go, because otherwise, if I were to try and chase what is popular or what's selling and everything, I would hate my job. At this point, I would just do something else if I weren't being true to what I like.
Exactly as you said. That's why you don't do freelancing, work for other people. Because we're forcing ourselves through other people's rules, other people's philosophy and strategy, and that's not what we want. And I go through that a lot, because I always think about, maybe I should do Primal Quest for 5th edition, or maybe I should do this for Mark Borg. And I do want to do for Mark Borg because I have this idea of a cataclysmic version of the game. But first of all, I want to make it my own. I want to make it on my system, on my terms, with my ideas for the themes of the game and stuff. But it's very hard, and and
if you add to that the financial pressure that I mentioned before, it's tempting to go ahead and say,
very, very rare.
You know what? Between what I did, there was I released a solo game about NFL, American football, That was a risk. And I knew that if I decided, instead of pursuing that very weird, very specific niche idea, and decided to instead, I don't know, release 20 farts for D&D, I would make more money with
Maybe, yeah.
my list
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
a supplement for some. But at this point, it's not something. If it's your
Yeah.
jam, if you're listening to it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
your jam,
Of
go for
course.
it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to write adventure modules for D&D. You go for it. You make monsters and
Yeah.
you have fun.
That's
But
what they're
for
saying.
me,
Follow your passion. Follow what you. That's a great book that I
yeah,
read a couple of weeks ago called "Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be." So if your heart wants to be there, sit down
yeah,
and do
sit
this
down
shit.
and work. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And so all the power for the people that are trying to do stuff for D&D. But I know that if I try to, I would just feel miserable. So at this point, I don't know, flip burgers somewhere else and do game design in my
Yeah.
spare time as a hobby, and that would be
Yeah.
okay. I'm not afraid of working. I've worked
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot in my life,
Yeah.
so if that happens, that's okay.
Yeah.
I've embraced impermanence as a philosophy of life. So
Yeah.
I know that the things that I have here, they're not forever, and I don't get attached to them because of that. Things can change. They can change very fast, and either you resist and suffer, or you accept them, embrace them, and go with the flow.
Very stoic of
Oh
very
yeah,
stoic way of thinking. Yeah.
I study stoicism quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. Like every day I wake up, I read a couple of passages. Like first thing I do, I wake up, go to the bathroom, drink water, read a couple of stoic passages, get ready to the day, and then go do my stuff. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
helped me a lot. I've
Yeah.
mentioned in previous
Yeah.
podcasts that I've been that some points of stoicism have helped me a lot in this transition as well.
Yeah. As you said, like I always say that I make the games for myself, you know. Oh, I'm making for I don't care. I'm making the game for myself.
Yeah.
If it's published, I can have it on my table. If nobody buys it, I don't care. I made the game. The game is mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my
under my
philosophy.
terms. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my game. If I get published, I'll get the book here. Oh, it didn't sell, but it's published. I have it.
It is.
So
it exists.
it's done.
Right?
I don't care. You don't have to buy it. I have it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I one of the first games I launched, it's called Oneironaut. It's a game that you play while you're asleep. It's about lucid dreaming. So and we can get back to it with
what's the name? Sorry.
Oneironaut.
Yeah.
And I had this idea, and it was just those things that, more than I want to play that, is I want this game to exist, you know? So I want, if nobody thought of it already, I want to make it so this game exists. There is a game that people play in their sleep. So I thought, okay, I'm just doing this for myself. It's like the weirdest thing ever. And I'll put it online just because. And up to this day is one of my best sellers somehow.
Wow,
so
yeah.
That's what I always say. Don't doubt that the strange ideas that you have might find a public somewhere, because they can resonate. They probably will if it's authentic.
Yeah, that's the thing I said, that even if it's not exactly the way the other person feel, but they will feel something authentic and human, and they will connect to it. And I think when you do a game it's really about your passion, something that you love, you pour so much into it, you put so much research and knowledge that you accumulated, or you feel so excited about it that you can't help but make it something excited for the person. So I think that will help.
100%.
As I say, I make the game for myself, so I don't care if you like it or not. But I think it's inevitable that someone will like it, because you put so much love into it. It's hard for this not to connect to someone that sees this love, you know?
Yeah, I would say it's impossible unless you don't show to anyone. Then, but if it's out there, it's gonna find someone that say, hey, this is one of my favorite games, and or I like it very much. I like reading through it. I connected with some passages, or I really like the way you described something. In a way, if you just pour yourself into it, it will connect. Yeah, guaranteed.
Cezar, how do you deal with negative feedback with this stuff that we put a lot of ourselves in it? Do you have any negative feedback? Do you have trouble dealing with it?
Oh yeah. I wish I had a thicker skin, to be honest. And being yourselves online, especially not under a brand. What I mean by that is when I decided to start publishing my games, instead of creating like a studio or anything, I decided just to publish the games under my name and be myself as in front of what it would be a company, right? But there is no name. It's me. I publish things on Twitter, on Instagram, and everything. It's my picture. It's my face everywhere. And when we're making like those very niche, very weird, very specific games, you're, as you said, putting a lot of yourself into it as well. And the creative process is a very vulnerable position to be in. You have to be, if you're being honest, if you're making a game, to be honest, you have to be vulnerable for it to be genuine, to be authentic. Yeah. And it can be harsh to be online and seeing people treating your creative process as something lesser, as something I've had some harsh criticisms in mini games and bigger games and everything, but I can't say that I take it easily, not meaning that I like talk back to them or try to defend my games, because I don't think that's that's useful. Usually you just engage with a conversation that is not the kind of energy that I want to take into my life.
Yeah.
But I had experiences of having some bad comments, and that kind of stuck with me for a few days, and not to the point that I was questioning my quality as a game designer, but questioning if I wanted to keep exposing myself like that, or I should perhaps step back. I don't want to do it anymore, or things like that really got into me. How I got better was an exercise that I do to survive being online, especially these days.
Sure, first, please.
Is to when I read any kind of comment, I have to remind myself that this is saying much more about the person that is saying than about myself. Yes. They are in this state of mind. This is what they have. You just give what's inside of you. So if they're showing hatred and disdain, that's because they're full of it. And that's what they have to offer. So this is a reflection of their selves, their personalities, and it's not about me.
Yes.
That's the exercise I do every time I get like snarky comments and everything. I have a theory that 1% of every post online is controversial, but you only see the controversial parts if you get to at least like 100 likes or 100 shares, because then you get that one person that will say, if it's not very popular, there is still 1%, but it's 0.8 or 0.7, so it doesn't manifest into existence. So every time I see something that I post online getting a little more shares and getting the small virality in our niche space, like a mechanic of a game that I shared that got like 100K views and everything, I know when it starts to increase, I know I expect that
you prepare yourself for
here it comes, somebody's gonna say this is dumb, this is ridiculous, and this is stupid.
Isn't that anxiety a little bit? I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
I know there is that stoic practice that we wake up when we say, today I'm gonna meet rude people that will be bad to me, that will shitty things, but that's something they're going through. It's a stoic exercise, but when you're posting already expecting for something bad to happen, I don't know. For me, this was kind of anxiety driven.
It is. And sometimes I got some bad quote tweets that drove me away from sharing things online, which is a shame because like from 100,000 people, there were 3 that didn't like,
Fuck
and
them.
a lot of people that enjoyed and shared and talked about it, that I know that the things I shared were enriching for those people.
Yeah. Let me ask you a
you're
question.
kind of stopping.
Ask a question.
Go ahead.
Like you said that you kept this for days in your mind, but what about all the people saying nice things about the same things you shared? Do you keep this good feedback in your mind for days too, or you just okay, thank you, and forget and keep the bad thing in your mind?
It's much easier to keep the bad things in your mind than the good things. Unfortunately, I think that's a brain wired thing.
You
but
need
I try to do.
You need to think of the good. I read this. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read that you have to think about the good thing 9 times more often for you to internalize it than for bad things. Like if you 1 second of a bad thing, you can internalize it, and for this, like internalize the same amount of good things, you need 9 seconds. You know, it's that's one of the practice you have to make. Like I try to save the good feedback and like in pictures, like in screenshots, and I have an album.
I do that too.
You
know, there's another thing for me that I think it's a part of it. It's because the good comments are more expected for me, and not because I think the things I share are great, but because I expect kindness, because I practice kindness. I don't see a point on not being kind. I'll always try to be kind. So when somebody's kind to me, that's what I'd accept as a norm. Like, oh, that's how you treat people. So when somebody is rude, that's a noise in the frequency and that's why I think it like bumps on the perception levels. That why is this person treating me like that? They don't even know who I am. So that's why I think it's hard for
people are so mean. They have no fucking idea who we are. That's why.
And why? And I don't know. I have this philosophy line: if you can't be kind, you can be quiet.
I mean, that's something I say to my son. You can be honest. You can say something is not good or something can be, but you have to be always kind. Like you can never be wrong if you're honest and kind. But you can't just be kind, and you can just be kind too. But you can't just be honest. Honest for honest sake can be very cruel and
some people hide cruelty.
Because it's true. Fuck, it's true. But you can say the same thing, but being kind and respecting and doing that, it's way more likely for the person to hear what you're saying, and maybe, if it's something you think they need to change, or something that may not necessarily need to change, but could make it better. But if you give that with kindness, it's much better for everyone involved, because they can maybe explain why they thought about this. But if you only say, oh, this is shit because of this and that, at least me, my first instinct would be try to fight back, but now I'm trying to resist this. I just look at the shitty feedback and then just block, because they're
delete.
I wanted to take that out of my sight. I want to forget this existed.
I do that as well.
If people really wanted to give me honest feedback, they would try make it constructive. If it's only destructive, fuck it. I don't have to hear this. That's a phrase that I love that say, only take feedback from people who would take advice from.
I take that by heart, and I've had a good share of great feedback of people to say, hey, you know what?
There is that.
There's this point here and everything, and I appreciate that, because sometimes you don't have the opportunity of having that, which is great. And but it goes back to what I said in the beginning. People that do the hateful thing, and sometimes not even criticism, it doesn't even qualify as criticism, it's just blatantly being ignorant. They're showing an aspect of themselves that's not, there's nothing to, there's nothing to do with you. It's all about them. Perhaps they're jealous of the visibility you're getting. Perhaps they want to riff on it and get a little dose of dopamine if you answer them back. So just silence. blocking and
Yeah.
moving away is the way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something that you can do it once well and say, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to do it.
Sometimes you're balanced in the day. You can react really well to it. Sometimes you had a fight with your partner.
Yeah, it
Things have
gets
been
your
difficult.
nerves.
Yeah.
So it's a daily practice, really. And I wish I could be less present online. But nowadays I have to wear all the hats. So I have to promote my games and everything. I have to be online present and fostering a community and of sorts.
Yeah.
And I've met wonderful creators and wonderful people online, but I also have to deal with the toxicity of,
Yeah, I
people,
know.
man. They can be hard sometimes. And I always try to look at them and say, okay, this is the moment they are in their lives.
Yeah.
They don't know about me to be that hateful, but I also don't know anything about them. What's going on through their lives, what kind of backstory they had. If so I always try to assume positive intent, if possible.
Empathy. Yeah.
Show some empathy. If there is no way, I can be quiet and just ignore the person and move on. So that's what I've been practicing every day.
Yeah. It's a practice. Yeah. Sometimes you will fail, but yeah. Cezar, do you have any weird ritual for when you sit down to work, to make your art, to write, to design, anything that helps you get in the flow, in the mood of creativity?
Well, perhaps if someone observed me, they would see it. For me, it's like just very normal. But
self-awareness, yeah.
One curious thing is, as I said, I live in a tiny apartment. I don't even have a table here. So I'm literally on my kitchen counter, sitting on a bar stool right now. So, and what I try to do is I get my notebook and I'm working from the food court of a shopping mall nowadays. So I like there's a small amount of background noise that goes around in the food court when it's not very crowded. So I get there, it's early in the morning, like 9 o'clock. I sit there, I order a cup of coffee, get a croissant or something, and I arrange the elements on my table in very precise positions, and I've learned the power of rituals for you to get in the mood. So when I sit there and I put a small plastic thing under my laptop for protection to not get too much dirt and everything. And I turn on my mouse, I put my phone to the right, my coffee, my thing that I'm gonna eat. And then I open the computer. Those procedures, I take when you see like Shintoism practices that people go to the temple and they turn on an incense and then bow and turn on a flower, all those small gestures that you take kind of start to put your mind into the position of, okay, now I'm about to do something. And this is weird because when I decided to take this as a full-time career, one of the things I thought would be amazing, it would be the casuality of working. I can work at any time. I'll just pop up my notebook when I have and chill and just lay back on my couch and type away and then watch a series on TV and then go for a walk.
Doesn't work like that,
and I go to the park. It doesn't work like that, man. We are creatures of routine. We're creatures of rituals, of symbolic stuff. So the act of sitting down, turning on your computer and do those things, you kind of train your brain to get into the work mode. Putting shoes on, I'm gonna work on my pajamas all day. There's a thing that goes with the rituals of getting ready to work that people that perhaps work a regular job feel that if they worked freelance or self-employed as I am, they would get rid of. And sometimes you do. I don't lie. Sometimes I just it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, fuck it. I'll go for a walk in the park. I don't need this anymore. And just close my computer. And perhaps I'm grabbing a coffee somewhere and idea sparks and then I dictate to the phone. That happens, but that's not the rule.
Yeah.
The everyday of the thing, it's a very non-romantic practice of getting your butt, as you said,
put your ass where the heart wants to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just type away, even if you're not inspired, especially if you're not inspired, just keep at it, show up, do the thing, and eventually things click. I wrote about that in my newsletter recently about diligent creativity versus inspired creativity. And most of the days is diligent. It's just sitting down and work a few hours a day. And eventually you get that spark, that movie kind of cinema spark, that you are sitting in your bed and then ta-da, a brilliant thing comes to your mind and then you type away. But that happens because you were prepared, because you're
trained. It's creativity. It's like a muscle. You have to train.
It is
like you go to the gym, you have to go to your creativity gym and read and write. And then there is a saying that Neil Gaiman said sometimes you have to put 1,000 bad words out before 100 good words get out. And just sit down and write and then put everything out and edit afterwards. Because if you're starting like, oh no, it's not good, and you won't have anything done. And no,
it doesn't work like that. And even if you like wait for the inspiration to come and it eventually comes and you haven't had the work done before, you won't know what to do with that inspiration. When you're doing this every day, you know how to create an outline for a book in 5 minutes. You know how the pieces get together like a Tetris, and you
get better at writing too and expressing yourself in using sentences and using words. Like even in this podcast, like the first episodes, I noticed I would hesitate a lot more. I would say a lot more, and as I'm doing this more and more, I'm learning to speak a little bit slower. I'm learning to pace my words and my phrase better. So it's practice. You have to practice every day, because when the opportunities arise, when the muse arise, and if you're not ready to take that opportunity, you're gonna waste it.
So my rituals involve, like, my weird stuff involves setting up my computer in a very particular way, and I encourage people even to add like a specific thing that they think it's unique. Like I want to put like a miniature to the left of my notebook every time I want to start writing.
Small robots my kid did for me.
There you go.
It's always here.
I like to keep dice at hand, because I like to fidget with dice in my hand when I think. So those small things that help you get into a mood, it's like a small ritual that you nurture and then practice. Make a lot of bad games. It doesn't matter. It really is a muscle that you have to practice. And then when an idea comes, you'll be ready.
Finish stuff. Make small.
Exactly.
Start small and finish. I don't care if it's bad. You have to finish, because we will learn something for the next one. The problem I still have friends that do this. They have this great idea for a game and they're making it for 10 years, and the game it's 500 pages. They're always fiddling with it. Get this shit out. Make make a minimal viable version of it, and make a quick start and just put it out, because people will play and people will give you feedback that will solve your problems you didn't even thought you had, So
we tend to be very precious with our ideas, and I have to tell you, ideas are a dime a dozen. The idea is the easy part. Going through the finish line is the
execution. Execution is the thing. I mean, I mean, there's always this in the other source circles. There's always this conversation. Oh, Gygax or Anderson was the idea, I guess. Yeah, but it got Gygax published this shit, it got out. You have to put it out. I don't care. I have great ideas. I have these great ideas for like a stoic game, journaling stoic game, philosophical. I have this other idea about but I have to finish, because otherwise it's worthless,
I agree.
Cezar, what are you currently working on as game designer, currently in game? I know you've been working in those that jazz game. I forgot the name yet, but had this purple cover.
Mhm.
And
Midnight Melodies.
yeah, Midnight Melodies, and really
Yeah.
fascinating about it. And what would you be like the weird? What is Midnight Melodies? What would be the weirdest thing, the weirdest favorite thing about it?
Well, this was one of the games that was the kind of inspired creativity. I was working on another one, not related whatsoever, doing the diligent work of showing up every day. And I just had insomnia one night and I stared at the ceiling for 3.5 hours. And this idea came to me, which was an idea of a jazz pianist that the Green Reaper couldn't take. He couldn't die for some reason.
Yes.
And then the Green Reaper instead offered him a job to work for the Department of Unauthorized Deaths. So you were recruited as a detective of sorts, investigating deaths that were not authorized by the Green Reaper. But the thing is why you, right? Why a jazz pianist? It's because the entities that cause those deaths, they leave behind a trail that you can perceive. It's a tone, a musical tone that you can perceive. So you go following the steps and collecting clues as you go. And when you make a small discover, you register one of the tones. And
Nice.
by the end of the game, you created chords with those tones. So you find a ghostly piano somewhere, like a piano that was abandoned or a piano that is neglected, that nobody cares. And you play those chords that you made up with the tones that you captured. And it's like a song that you send to the Green Reaper with the information that you discovered about that unauthorized death. And then you move on with your life. The next day, there's going to be another death for you to investigate.
Wow.
And this concept came to me, and I worked like for 3 days nonstop. That was one of the occasions in which I had to break my rules of getting a break, because it was like a Thursday night, and I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday nonstop. By Monday, the game was done, including layout, illustrations, and everything. And I published them on Tuesday. So it was 3.5 days of frenetic and frantic typing away 44 pages, I guess, with tables and everything. And I was so delighted with the result. And it was one of the things that I said, I have to publish it before I start questioning it. Well, is it done? Is it really done? Should I, perhaps I should. You have now click the button, publish it, and send it to people. And the reception was actually very good for my standards. I mean, I sold more than like 100 copies in a week, and it was just a blast to make this game, man. And it's not a thing that happens often. This kinds of outpouring of inspiration, but when it does, it's very good to ride that high and enjoy the process of getting a thing done that quickly. And I've seen actual plays already of the game. I've got some great feedback for the game, and I'm excited. Now it's just it's one and done. My games are really one and done, and I'm already back working at the game I was out before I had this idea.
Hello weirdos, this is Diogo Nogueira, and I'm back with a word from our sponsors. Me! I just released a new game called Cosmosaurus, in which you play a dinosaur space ranger who protects the galaxy from evil threats such as slime bankers, undead pirates, and Cosmosaurus from a void dimension. It's a game with a runes-light system inspired by Forged in the Dark and Lasers and Feelings. It comes with a bunch of tables for you to generate content for it. If you know my games, they're really easy to play and they have tools to help you improvise and play with low prep. It's an ideal game for one-shots, short campaigns, and introducing new people to the hobby, and it's a really perfect family game. I play with my kids all the time. It's a game inspired by Saturday morning cartoons. It's really well illustrated by Lucas Kowalski from Poland, and with a great layout by Guilherme Gontijo. It's a really fun game. You should check it out on DriveThruRPG, itch.io, or exclusively in print on exaltedfuner.com. I have many other games there, check them out. All the links are in the show notes, so click there. And let's get back to Weird with our chat. Are you a musician, or are you very invested into music for you to seek this kind of games, or how is your relationship with music?
I am a musician, amateur. I am an architect. I graduated as an architect, worked in the government, as I said. But even before that, I studied guitar, Brazilian popular music, and bossa nova and stuff. But I had a rock band actually back in Brazil. We actually recorded some original songs. That was before college. Then everybody moved to different cities to study, and guitar was always something that was in the back of my life as something I would resort as more like a meditative practice, because when I'm playing, I don't have space to be worrying about stuff when I'm playing. It's just like getting a flow state. So it's very therapeutical. But I still practice, as I mentioned. I had to sell all my stuff when I moved, but I couldn't resist. After a year or so, I said, if I don't buy a guitar, if I don't have anything to play, I'll go completely nuts here. I need like an outlet. A creative outlet that I have no responsibility in making it presentable, right?
Exactly,
because RPGs I have at least to make it a product, but my music I don't. I just sit down with my guitar and play. But it's something that is very present in my life. Most of the YouTube videos I watch are about music, and I listen to a lot while I write my games. And
favorite artists, favorite musicians that you listen a lot, or very eclectic, always new stuff?
I'm very eclectic. I get tired of stuff really quickly. That goes for everything in my life. Favorite food is hard for me to say, changes every month. My games, I publish my game, I'm done with it. I perhaps will never play it again.
But do you keep promoting them? Because that's something I struggle. Like I have to promote my past games. I forget them, and it's not healthy. I mean, they're still valuable. They're still part of ourselves. How do you do with that?
Sometimes I rediscover my games, not in a way that excites me enough to write a supplement or write a second version, but I read through it, and sometimes I don't even remember writing those paragraphs. I say, oh, that's kind of nice, actually. And then I kind of fall in love. I'm not so bad. I kind of fall in love with those games again, and then I remember that to mention then when I'm in the conversations like this one, or when I see somebody posting asking for suggestions of a game. And then I say, hey, you know what? I have this game that's kind of the thing you're wanting. So I have this relationship that it's not that I dislike my past work. It's just that I really always aiming to the next thing I'm going to do. And that happens with music as well. That's not that I get tired of the things that I liked and I don't like them anymore, but I am always trying to listen to the next thing. One curious fact about it, when it gets to the end of the year and everybody's sharing those Spotify recaps and everything and rewinds, and I always see people saying, hey, this is the song that I play the most, like 230 times, or people saying that when they discover a new song, they listen on repeat. I cannot listen to a song more than once in a row. And when I get to the recap last year, here's the song that you most played this year. I don't even remember the song. It was 6 times for the entire year. It was just because the shuffling of the thing
the times I play a song in a single day, like 6 times or something.
So I'm that's, I don't know, that's a kind of a trait, a personality trait, or perhaps that's the way I deal with it. And
that's your weird.
That's my weird.
My weird is listening to the same thing the whole year and driving my wife insane. That's my weird.
I just hit shuffle in YouTube Music now that I'm using instead of Spotify, and I'm discovering stuff. What I'm trying to do is to
discover stuff too, but I have my favorites that
the core, right?
they kind of calm me down too sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I resort back to the classics. I know I'm very
Yeah.
fan of Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits and Pink Floyd and classic
Yeah.
rock and stuff. So I resort back to that, and Brazilian rock as well. But I try to put songs that are not very invasive. So I'm very into instrumental music nowadays, or that are even electronic music that I never thought I would listen to. There's some
Yeah.
deep
Lo-fi music or those more
lo-fi.
calming. Yeah.
Yeah, lo-fi when I'm in a more calm mood. When I need a more deep work, there's some mixes of deep house or deep trance music
Yeah.
that have a beat, but they are not
Yes.
so colorful and vibrant. They are more constant.
I listen to
Man,
this
those
while
things work.
writing, yeah, or reading
They
too. Yeah.
Yeah, they really work. I mean, I sometimes type away an hour and a half, and I have to stop because I need to stretch. I have a
Yeah.
huge problem in my neck, and I have to stretch. And okay, I've been doing this for a while now. I need to take a walk, but all discovering new stuff, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it,
Yeah.
finding new passions every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, we were talking about Midnight Melodies and the way you describe the game, the themes and etc. Do you have anything, any kind of fiction or stories that inspired you to this? I got this kind of Neil Gaiman kind of vibes of this. Oh, the Green Reaper shows a musician to investigate. It felt really this kind of oniric, mystical, fairy tale kind of in a good way.
Yeah,
I would say. Do you
yeah.
have any artists or writers or people that do fiction that really inspires your work or the words you
I
create? Or
I do. The thing is, I have a hard time tracing back the inspiration because, as we mentioned in the start of this conversation, they just, perhaps is a dish that you try that inspired you in a weird way. You make some
can
connections.
you retroactively make these connections?
Then I try to do that. So I recognize that the Disney movie Soul, which is about a pianist that dies, it was probably on the back of my head. I said, okay, that's not a coincidence, because I watched the movie. I really enjoyed it. And
Great
it
movie,
was there.
yeah.
It was a great movie. And there's a game and book. It's not Sandman. Curiously enough, it was like, I think it's Neverwhere. Is that the name of the book? I think it is. There's a parallel reality in London and everything. So this kind of what I love about urban fantasy is the idea of a second world,
hidden worlds on our own.
On top of the ordinary world, more than like the traditional fantasy, when it is even if it's rare, it is expected that there are creatures and everything. And there is magical realism as well, which is, okay, it's a modern world, but we expect fantasy to happen. Like we live together with elves and centaurs and shit.
Yeah.
But what I really enjoy is when there is this new level of hidden world that
a
is
veil, separates
the veil. Exactly. It's invisible to most, but then your character can see it. So this is from the book. I think it was very inspiring to me, and it's something that is in my mind all the time, because it's one of my favorite kind of fiction ever.
True. I love this kind of stuff too, and because it makes you feel kind of special, like, oh, we are the ones. And I think that's what the great attraction for conspiracy theorists is. Like, people say, oh, I'm the only one seeing this.
I understand. I know it goes into dangerous territory, but when you were a mature person,
I love conspiracy theories as gaming inspiration. They're fantastic, but I mean,
me too. I just don't do it as like try to bring it to real life and elect people based on that.
I don't play LARP with them, but
that's right. I remember seeing, I think it was an illustration in an old World of Darkness book. I don't recall which one, but it was like a perspective of a city, and people were just going by on the sidewalks, and it was like a top view, but you could see in the window of one of the apartments, there was this curtain that was half open, half closed, and you could see the silhouette of like a fake creature with a different shape of an eye. It was very subtle. And that was what captivated me. Everyone is going by with their lives, but there is a layer of mystery that people are unaware. Oh, this is so fascinating to me. I think I enjoy it a lot, and I bring it to a lot of games that I make.
Yeah. We're going to touch on this weird realities that we like to see, or maybe we believe in a few. But I want to ask you one of traditional questions you ask is that's how do you see the weird in role-playing games? And if you think role-playing games are weird, what would be your favorite weird part of them?
Oh, I do believe it's very weird. Yeah. And I'm reminded of it every time I have to explain to someone that never heard about it. Because they look at me and they tilt their heads and okay, I think I get what you're saying. But
sometimes you have the feel that the person saying, "Oh, I don't get it," but I'm done asking questions.
Let me play along.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. It's like a board game, but it's not. It's like a theater, but it's not. There are a lot of weird aspects that I like. Some of those have been mentioned by previous guests on your show. So,
but people don't always listen to every episode. So mention it again.
There is one that I think it's very
there's gonna be like someone really a fan of ours is gonna just listen to your show and never listen to this again. So
that is very true. That is very true.
But if you only like Cezar, listen to other people too. We have very interesting people here.
The catalog is very interesting. Go ahead and listen to them. So I think the thing that I like the most, the weird part that I like the most is what I like to call the 3 stances of playing a role-playing game, or the 3 A's, like avatar, author, and audience. So avatar is like when you are the character, you are making decisions by the character, perhaps you're even role-playing or acting out if that's your thing. You are answering and asking questions, you are interacting with the world around you, the fictional world, as the character in that fantasy world. So that's the avatar mode. Then there's the author mode. That's the one that takes a step back, and it's more the writer's room approach. You make decisions that perhaps are not in the best interest of the avatar, of your character, but are very interesting to the story. Oh, it would be, it would be fun if I complicated the life of this person right now and throw a big problem on top of them and make decisions that are not optimal for their lives, the avatar's life, but you are in the author stance. And the other stance is the audience stance, in which you are witnessing a story being unfolded. You're being surprised by yourself, by the table, by your friends, by a GM if there is one, by random generators that you create, by the connections you make. So it's like you're watching the movie or the book you're writing at the same time that you're making decisions in the story, and at the same time that you are the protagonist of the story. So when you play for a while, you jump through these 3 A's, these 3 stances seamlessly. It's second nature for us. You just, sometimes you're being surprised and enjoying giving a step back. Sometimes you're doing weird decisions just to make the story more interesting, and sometimes you're very immersed in the feelings and decisions that your character is making. And this is fascinating for us that play for a while. I've been playing for like 25 years. I don't know, more than that. It's just like, it's how it is. But I can see how a person that is exposed for that the first time can look at it and say, wait a minute, I'm all of those all the time. How does that work? And it's super weird. And also the thing that keeps bringing me back to those kinds of experiences. It's unparalleled. I don't see anything that could provide me those 3 levels, and especially moving back from one level to the other in a matter of a second, a split second, and you are a character, and you know what?
You do not have to click anything. You don't have that,
Exactly.
exchange modes, alt tab or
Yeah.
anything. It's just
And
there.
you're there talking to the person, and you are the person. Then you take a step back and say, this guy could be my uncle that I lost. What do you think? That would be fun. Oh yeah, that's cool. And then somebody suggests something, and then you're audience to that person, and then you go back to being the avatar. Everything happens in 5 seconds. You didn't even notice that you changed those stances, and the game just flows. I think this is
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah. Do you think it would be interesting to make a game that explore those intents more explicitly, or do you have any game that explore this more explicitly,
Yeah.
like saying, no, you're entering this mode or that mode, or because one of the games I said I have a weird idea and haven't done yet. It's called Petty Gods and Playthings, that kind of plays with this, as because you play as a god in kind of the outer mode because you create the world and start to interfering, and you also have your plaything, which is this character that you move around, and yeah, audience, we are always playing this, but maybe audience would be one of the modes that's more clearly audience, like in downtime activities, or maybe in this place that the GM provide more what's happening between the adventures and stuff. Do you
Yeah,
think there are games that explore this more directly and explicitly, and would be interesting to do so?
I'd love to. I try to import some of those concepts into my games, especially because most of my games are GM-less. So I am a big believer in offering procedure, because since you don't have that person that holds all the things together in their minds, that probably has a backlog of experience that can import to the table and make the story move along, even when everybody looks at one another saying, okay, what's next? So I try to import procedures. And when you do so, I try to be a little more clear. Okay, now take a step back. You're going to create the scene. You're going to create the challenge that you're going to face. Perhaps bring back some traits from your characters that you discovered that you can import into the scene, and challenges that you want. Okay, are you ready? Now get into your characters and face this scene as a character. And but I've seen, I can't recall names at all, or faces. That's another peculiar trait of mine. But I've seen games that have done it more explicitly, like even dealing cards. You're responsible for that. And now, okay, as an audience, you can interfere, suggesting something or adding some color to this, or reacting, or being, or changing characters amongst themselves. So this is a field that I'm 100% interested in exploring. For sure.
And even that audience part, now with streaming that's becoming so popular, I think it's going to be natural for some games to be designed for streaming and having maybe mechanics or rooms for the audience, the people that are just watching the game out there. Maybe they can interfere with the game sometimes. So that's another way to explore this instance, and this kind of connects. So if you're only listening for Cezar Capacle, we're talking about this, there's some other guests that we talked about this Alan Barr, about making a game that would play with the audience on streaming. So that's one of the connections we can make there, and could be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, take that idea and make it run.
I have for the Play Gods and Playthings, the avatar and the outer are very, I think it's very working on the game. And now, because of this discussion you had, I'm gonna try to think about how we can incorporate the audience, maybe, or have another mode for the players and the GM to be the audience sometimes.
It's always cool. I like to explore boundaries. I have a hard time defining my game. Sometimes I don't get into conversations of what is an RPG, or what is a board game, or what is a card game, because I tend to play in the lines, blur the lines a little bit. And I like to bring elements of other experiences into my role-playing games. And as long as I'm providing like a sort of experience that a person or a group of people can have that revolves around story making or adventure enjoyment, I'm happy. No matter how you call it. And I've even made games intentionally that don't have a goal, just to see if I could even call them games, but that's what I like to do. I like to make those questions and explore them and see what it brings me. And if I were to rule out that, oh no, I don't think this is a role-playing game or a game, the game wouldn't exist. So I think it would be a fault of my part. I just want them to be out there and let you be the judges, play it, see how you feel. You don't have to give it a title or a category. If you enjoy it, that's enough for me.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I always struggle. It is OSR game. Is this something else? It's a story game. It is, it's a game. And
it's a game.
yeah, that's it. We don't have to
it's
be so rigid. Yeah, because if we are, I think we put ourselves in a box and we prevent ourselves from exploring another possibility that we would explore if we didn't attach ourselves or our games to a label or a box that limits our growth in some way.
I agree.
Yeah. Cezar, what would be the weirdest game you ever played, and do you have any fond memories of it, or even a recent game that was very weird and you could share something about it for us?
Okay, let me give a think about it. I think, well, that's fun. I have this tendency to try to introduce role-playing games to people I know, even my nieces and nephews, and I usually have a very good time playing with first-timers because they don't have those preconceptions of what a game should be.
Yeah.
So they come with a blank slate, which is always fun to me. And I was trying to introduce 2 nieces of mine to role-playing games, and we were going on a summer travel in like a hotel or a resort. It was like 10 years ago, and they were I think they were 12 and 14. And I went through their profiles on Facebook at the time to see what the things they liked, and try to come up with a pitch for a role-playing game to try to convince them to try and play it. And I saw they liked the Hunger Games. I said, okay, let's try and do this. And I thought, okay, I have the pitch, but I couldn't find a system that I wanted to play it with. And I wanted something that would just get out of the way and be easy to understand. And I spent a few days trying to come up with something for it, and I couldn't. So the day came for us to go to this trip, and I still had this idea of playing with them. And the opportunity came. We were, after the day, back in our rooms. Everyone was bored, and I said, you know what? Let's play this. And I said, you like Hunger Games, don't you? How about we play a story in the Hunger Games universe? You're going to be 2 of the, I don't know how they call the selected people that go to fight.
Tributes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The tributes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm
into Hunger Games. I like Hunger Games. There's a new movie I'm considering watching.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I really like the world building and everything.
Yeah.
And I had 3 colored dice, 3d6 of 3 different colors. And when I sat at the table, I started like brainstorming ideas as if I were explaining to the rules that didn't exist. It was like a free form role playing. And we played for 3 nights, 3-hour sessions of that system that didn't exist. And I can't recall anything that I made up with. And the girls eventually got into role playing, and we played for like years to come, and they still recall these sessions as the best games they ever played.
Nice.
And I can't remember a single rule that I made, so that was very weird. That was a very weird experience for me. I'm not strange to like, okay, let's just roll d6, and 4 to 6 is a success, 1 to 3 is a fail. But there was some nuance. I had like,
of course, you're a game designer. You made some shit up for sure. Yeah,
resources, a resource die if you roll lower and everything. I can't remember, Diogo, a single thing that I made, but they were captivated by it. So
Yeah.
I always remember this experience. That was 3 weird nights, but I had a lot of fun, and I got 2 more fans
That's
of
great. Yeah.
into the hobby. So yeah,
That's
job done.
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Cesar, I want to get a little bit more personal and start asking questions about your life, your experiences. And first thing I want to do is asking how has 23 has been for you? Has it been a weird year? How is it going?
Well, I think after the pandemic, I had this feeling that, okay, I'm waiting for the things to go back as they were before. But 2023 was the year that I realized that things are never going to be the same.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can't explain, like, I can't put my finger on it specifically, but there's something significant that changed, and I don't expect it to go back to what it was before in a way. So I've made 2023 was an important year for me to make peace with the fact that we're living in a post something era of sorts, and 2019 will never be like that again.
Yeah.
That
It's 10 years ago, basically, right? It's 3 years, but it feels like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like an age, like a generation ago. And I was holding on to that feeling, okay, when the pandemic is over, things are going back to normal. But again, there's no normal. And there is something significant that has changed on people's behaviors, I don't know, and the way that we see the world as it is right now. But it was important. 2022, I was still attached, even though I was living in another country, and obviously things would be different. But in a way, there was this feeling that perhaps there was the before times that we were going back to it. And I don't think we are. It's just from here on, it's going to be something different, something that we haven't, as a society, realized perfectly yet. But I try not to fret over it too much, because I don't have the most optimistic tendencies in my thoughts. So I have to policy myself not to get into like a doom state. Okay. I worked in climate change, my friend. So can you imagine
48 degrees Celsius here?
The kind of data I had to deal with. I was like working to try to stop apocalypse for at least 20 more years, pretty much. And so I have this tendency to look things, and when I see people going back to ideas and behaviors that I thought belonged to 1940s the most, or the 1900s, and they're coming back in a different way, and I worry. So there is this feeling that we are in a sort of a transition. There is going to be something that is going to.
It has to be,
It has to be.
It has to be.
That it changes.
It's so sustainable,
yeah. So there is this feeling that we are on a kind of a waiting mode, on a transition mode. Everyone is a kind of still.
We're like in that part of the roller coaster. They're getting up. It's getting tense. Tension's rising.
Perfect description. So it is weird, but I know for a fact that it's not going to be 2019 anymore, and I just have to make peace with it.
Now that you've talked about it, it's something has changed. It's something has to change, and it's gonna change, or it's ending. I don't know. I have. Yeah, as you said, like I don't talk too much because I have sometimes a negative view of things. But when I saw that 48 degrees Celsius, like right here, and then I'm seeing that December is gonna be worse, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if we have a lot of time left here.
That's what I try to do is to try to like be in the moment the most, be kind and care for the people I love, and be present.
That's all we have.
That's all we got. exactly.
Yeah.
So otherwise we go nuts, and it's not gonna be beautiful to
Yeah.
watch. So yeah, I'm trying
Yeah.
to keep my mind
Yeah, and
straight.
the moments can be beautiful. Like if we really can live in the moments and see where we are, like we can see small. Like sometimes I'm just driving my kid to school, and it's really hot here. But like in the beginning of the month was still like spring, But then we
Mhm.
see like this avenue with all these old trees we're used to see. But now we notice, some of them have flowers. So it's just white flowers, and then we can notice small beautiful things that are all around us. That and most of the time we don't care. We just, we
Mhm.
have to go to school, we have to go to the supermarket, we have to finish this project, and we go through all these amazing things that are happening around us, and we don't see
We
them.
don't
Like
care.
yeah, and it's being
Yeah,
present. It's very important to you to. It helps you calm
I
you down, helps you be a better person because the gratitude thing. I don't know, it makes you lighter. I think.
yeah, you stay grounded. I'm very
Yeah.
fortunate that I live in a tourist city. Some people hate living in tourist places, but I don't. And I'll tell you why. Every time I go out, I see people admiring the place I live, with taking pictures and looking at things that I pass by every
Yeah.
day. And every time I see someone
We
doing
take
that,
for
I
granted.
stop
Yeah.
and I look at the same place. What is this person looking at that is so nice? And I try to remind
Yeah.
myself of the small things that I take for granted, that those people are seeing for the first time, and taking a picture. So,
Yeah.
okay, there is something there that is valuable, right?
Yeah.
So I keep reminding myself that I can enjoy things. I am allowed to be content with life, and be happy, and find those little moments of joy, of gratitude,
Yeah.
because otherwise I
It's
don't think we
hard. We
last
get
long
to a dark place.
minutes.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I think. We have to make this exercise to think of the good stuff because it's 9 times harder than to keep the bad stuff. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have to put it
precisely.
in our mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cesar, have you have any kind of weird experiences related to states of altered psychic? It could be like really weird dreams or meditation, hypnosis.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Going back to the game that I mentioned, Oneironaut,
Oh yeah.
uh, I had this idea of making a game that you play while you're asleep, and I had no idea how to pull it off, right? Of course. So I started researching it, and I got into lucid dreaming, which is fascinating, and I never had tried it before. But there is a whole community of people that practice it, which
Wow.
basically means you recognize that you're dreaming, but you don't wake up. And at this moment, you can take control of your dream, and I'm gonna fly, or I'm gonna have dinner with a celebrity, or I'm gonna be strong, or I'm going to the purple forest of fairies. Up to you. And people that practice it a lot and they have a good control, they can do a lot of stuff, even therapeutical stuff. Like you had a bad day
Nice.
and you had an
Yeah.
argument with a person, you can work out the thing in the dream, and then you wake up
Nice.
feeling better
Yeah.
about that. So I've learned a lot, but I thought perhaps it's not for me. Even then I decided to go ahead with the game because I wanted the game to exist. But I tried to practice it using the game. I had to play test my game, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I had some lucid dreaming, and boy, that was fantastic. One aspect of the game is that you choose like an animal that you can morph into. It's one of the gifts that this god of the forest that selected you to be his defender gives you the power to transform into an Amazon animal. And I was a macaw, like the big parrot, the red parrot that we have in the Amazon. And for a brief moment, we don't have a very good sense of how much time we spend in
Yeah.
dreams. Yeah, I've heard that like it's 6 seconds, but you can like have an experience of a lifetime. But I remember seeing like POV, like through the eyes of the bird, flying over the Amazon forest, and I could
Wow.
feel like the wind coming through me, and I could control it. So it was lucid because I knew that I was
Nice.
dreaming, and I
have
could
to try
control it
this.
for a while.
Yeah.
Boy, I do recommend. If you
Wow.
have problems with like sleep paralysis or like nightly terrors, I don't recommend it because it can get more real. So
I
it
had
can
when
be
I was a
scary.
kid, and I never had any more.
Perhaps you're safe. There are people
Yeah.
that are
I'll
very
try.
aware of
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah, you can try.
yeah, well.
There are people that are very aware of that. They say, okay, I know what's happening in front of me is
Yeah.
sleep paralysis. So I just wait.
Now I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, demon of the shadows, I know what it is. I can't do anything, but I'll just wait for you to go
Yeah.
away. And
Yeah,
it does.
very
It's like,
scary, dude. Very scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
congrats. Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, boy. You're a very scary boy. Congrats. And they just go away. So if
Yeah.
you're like
Yeah.
comfortable with it, it never happened to me, but it's an experience and actually can help you with your sleeping habits because you get into the habit of a little routine right before you go to bed to turn off your mind. You know, those meditations that you go
Yeah.
through every part of your body and turn off your feet, turn off your legs and everything. And then
Nice.
you perhaps listen to some music or instrumental meditative tracks. And you also get into the habit of journaling your dreams after you wake up, which is also
Yeah,
can be very
great.
therapeutical.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had reports of people that experimented with the game, and they said that improved their quality of sleeping as a
That's
whole as well.
fantastic. Yeah.
So it was a side effect. I never intended to be this way, but I'll take it. No problem.
Yeah.
I like it. So yeah, that was probably the weirdest transcendental experience that I had. I wasn't able to reproduce it, mostly because I just, as I said, I moved on to make another
Yeah,
game and
yeah.
stopped playing this one. But I think that if I practice, I could enjoy it. And I've seen reports of people doing the wildest things, and you can even work on fears that you have, like if you have fear of heights and you kind of experiment through dreaming,
Yeah.
and you have fear of public speaking, you can try and practice through lucid dreaming and everything.
Very nice.
So it's fascinating stuff. Definitely recommend.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at this for sure. I don't remember my dreams very often. Sometimes I do, and they're very interesting. So I'd like to practice a little bit more. And I remember once I was aware I was dreaming, and I was able to control my dream, and it was fantastic. So I want to try this again. Yeah.
It is nice.
Yeah. And did you had any other mind-altering experiences? Have you ever taken psychedelics or any kind of substance that made you see reality in a new angle, in a new ways, or anything like this?
No, I'm fascinated by it, but I'm so scared. There is something in me that is very, perhaps as a primal fear of something, that I'm very scared of bad trips. You know, I've had reports of people that had bad trips, but of course they were abusing like 12 mushrooms in a row.
I'm not advocating anyone to try this, but there are safe ways and safe procedures
exactly
you can put in place before you do this, and stuff that you have at hand for if something you get too anxious and stuff. But I remember the first time I took LSD, and they gave me a pamphlet with like, oh, if this happens, do this. If it happens, oh, put this music on. All these like procedures for you to get more relaxed. And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I don't think I'm brave enough to do it, but I'm fascinated, especially because the concept of what we call reality is so fluid, because we take for granted that everything has everything has a color, a texture, a weight, and by 10 grams of a mushroom, everything that you take for real can shift.
Well, let's be fair here. Like, if you take 10 grams of, that's a lot of mushrooms. That's really wow. See, I want to 10 grams someday, but I haven't. But that's my goal someday. Yes.
But it's a small amount compared to
2-3 grams. 2-3 grams is already like an experience.
Exactly. So what comes to this for me is that reality is a hallucination that we're just used to.
Yeah.
There are other ways to see the same thing
Yeah.
that if it were the standard, we would call it reality. If like
Yeah.
we would see colors floating all the time, oh, that's
Yeah.
just reality. What we call hallucination is just a form of
Yeah.
perception that we haven't
Yeah.
experienced
It's
enough.
another lens. It's another lens. I would
lens.
say it's not necessarily an hallucination, but what we perceive as reality is a very small fraction of it. It's not like this is an illusion. This is part of reality for sure.
Yeah.
But it's very limited because all our senses are limited. We don't see all the colors. We don't hear all the sounds. We don't feel all the sensations. And this substance, and even meditation, and if the lucid dreaming helps you connect different parts of your brains for you to sense reality, because you're not having hallucinations, you're perceiving reality just a little bit differently. It's still reality in some way, you know?
Yeah. What I mean by hallucination is like colors. They don't exist. We kind of hallucinate, quote unquote, colors because the way that our bodies are made, they process this very tight spectrum of waves in a very peculiar way that even creatures that live with us, like dogs, perceive in a different way. So colors, in a way, are kind of a hallucination because they are not part of the object itself.
Yeah, it's a reflection of light and a wave
that is processed by a very peculiar way. If we had different eyes, nothing outside would have changed, and the colors would be completely different. So that's fascinating to me. You know, everything that we perceive as true is kind of subjective because of the sensors that we have available at us. So it's
one of
just
my favorite moments. There was a time I was tripping in the mushrooms, and they have this poster of this bird, very colorful bird. But for me, the bird was always like shaking its wings and trying to fly or something, adjusting. And then the next day I saw the poster, just the bird like standing still or something. It's
it was there, right? I think it's fascinating
because what, as I see, like it's the colors, it's the reflection. So maybe what I was seeing, it was like the waves of the colors being reflected to it. So that's the impression of the movement. It's not that I was seeing the image move, but the reflection, the waves of my perception could see a little bit more than just the limited perception that we have, right now.
Exactly.
And
and the way that the chemistry and the synapses and everything work in our brains, if we change just a small bit of it, a lot can change in the perceptions that we have of the world.
And not even only perception, but the way you think, the way you rationalize stuff, the way you interpret things. I've made conclusions about stuff that happened in my past, stuff that's happening to me, and being able to feel love in a way that I didn't feel before. I think it helped me with many things. And even my wife had issues with their family. She goes to therapy, but it also helped her to reach conclusions that she wasn't, like breakthroughs that helped her with therapy in some ways. Like, it's, as you said, it's not like we're taking this like, every week, every day, we're like no, it's something you do sporadically. It's really a trip.
Right?
It's really a trip. It's like we're traveling. Like I don't know, once every 6 months or a few months. If you have time, you can do it responsibly in a way that's in a comfortable environment. I think it can be enriching in some way. It's an exploration sometimes, but I always agree. Do with safe cares and have people that can be with you and this kind of stuff.
I agree.
Have you ever had any near-death experiences or any moments that you thought something was going to happen to you and changed you in some way because of this?
No, but if you allow me to talk about this, the topic of that a little bit.
Sure.
One experience that
if you feel comfortable about it,
No, that's okay. I actually watched my dad die. I lost my dad in 2017 to cancer, and I was there in the room.
Sorry.
Thank you. As he gave his last breath, and seeing a person dying can be an experience in and of itself. It can be traumatic, but it can be very transformative. In that moment, I didn't realize, because we had been battling the cancer for a year or so. So we knew it was coming in a way. And at that moment, we knew that was the best outcome possible. He was very tired. There was nothing that we could do to help him except making it more comfortable. And we as a family were exhausted as well, because it's very taxing just seeing a person and fighting and everything. So at the moment, it was actually a strange relief, because I saw that he fought all that he could, and he was able to rest. And for us too, we knew that we would have to face loss and face all the grief, but for that brief moment, there was a relief. And after that, after my dad passing, that's when I made the decision to quit my job, because that was very transformative for me, because he was a very diligent man. He worked hard, and he had a lot of plans for his retirement. I want to travel with my wife, take my mom, and they wanted to go to the coast of Brazil, up to the Northeast by car and everything. He was about to do that. He was a truck driver for the most of his life. And then the final years, he sold the truck and bought a taxi so he could work closer to home. He was doing good. He was getting closer to realizing that dream. And then he got the news that he had cancer. So it was after that 1 year of chemotherapy, and he passed at 60 years old. So I looked at it and said, I don't want to be in my deathbed and look back and say to myself, what if I had tried doing what I love? I don't want that. Perhaps it won't work. Perhaps I'll spend all my savings and it won't work, but I'll try. I have to try and do what I love. So that was the final push. And with the amazing support of my wife that said, yeah, let's do this, that I finally made a move. And I think that was, I marked this as the most transformative experience of watching the man that I loved just passing away at 60, without realizing lots of dreams that he had, because he postponed in name of a security that never came, and I'm grateful for this experience in my life. I miss him a lot, but it changed me, and in a very important way. So yeah, there's this lesson that I had.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry you had to go through this, your father had to go through this, and I'm really thank you for you sharing this and being brave to share this. It's a great lesson, and makes us think a lot, and I'm really great that you had the wisdom and the courage to try to do this for yourself. And we are thankful for the stuff that you've been making and producing and creating. It's really unique. It's weird and wonderful. and
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that was really to think. And now trying to get to something a little bit more light, and then thank you for asking this. But
sorry for the curveball that I threw in.
No, I think it's great. I just feel a little bit silly asking you now about, I don't know, ghosts and aliens and supernatural
go
stuff
ahead.
that you might be, I don't know, might believe or interested or have any kind of weird experience with this. Have you ever seen a ghost or anything like this?
I have not, and I wish I had. But
do you believe in them? Do you believe you can see ghosts? Or
I like to believe. I want to believe, as Fox Mulder would say, like aliens and ghosts and everything. I think existence would be too boring if everything that is true we had already discovered and figured out. So I think it's more interesting to believe that they can be possible. I'm very fascinated by fae, the fairy creatures and everything, and the spirits of the forests and things like that. So I don't try it. I'm very rational.
Have you seen anyone? Have you seen any spirits or
nothing at all? I'm a very rational person, and I tend to analyze everything by evidence and scientific method. So I have to turn it off a bit when I want to believe in stuff like that, because I don't have evidence. But I think life is more colorful when you kind of embrace those things in your life. You know what I mean? Even though I haven't had personal experiences with any of that, I still like to believe that perhaps when I see a light in the sky, perhaps it's a spaceship, or when there is this weird shift in the weather in a specific part, that's probably a forest god that's manifesting their anger or something like that. Or there are spirits that look after us when we're going through a difficult time.
Yeah, you like the mystery.
I like it.
You know?
Yeah, I like the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the mystery is fascinating. Yeah. And I think I'm very like this. I'm very analytical and rational, and I kind of see myself as an atheist. Although things are changing a little bit, in not like something as a god or something, or omniscient creature, but like knowing there's something bigger than ourselves that we don't control, and that's enough for me. Enough for saying I don't have all the answers, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I believe in this. I believe in science. I believe what we discovered and an experience. I know this can change at any time because science changes too. But being open to, maybe there is something we don't understand. But I always at the same time, I don't want to say, this exists. I know I don't understand it, but I know this. That is something I have some trouble with. But being, maybe, who knows?
Maybe
that's strange. Yeah.
Sometimes I've come up with an answer for that. When somebody asks me, "Do you believe in God?" I said, "I don't doubt it." It's not that I can say that it's true, but perhaps. Do you believe in God? I don't doubt it.
Yeah. There's this great phrase that I heard recently. It's called "God is the name of the blanket we're throwing over the mystery of existence," you know?
Yeah.
That's just it. That's something, a name we invented to help us grasp this ungraspable thing, you know?
Exactly. It's useful in that way, you know. You put a frame around it, and you can let's resort everything that we don't understand. It's fun.
The only problem is then we start to attach our values to this mystery, you know, as religion, as Catholicism especially says that the man was created by the image of God, inspired by the image of God, and exactly the truth is exactly the opposite, right? We gave this mystery this name of God when it's trying to attach human values to it. Like,
we created God in the image of man.
We're saying he can forgive us, but he will punish us. He loves us, but sometimes he has these rules. He's very human in some ways, and I think such a perfect entity wouldn't have the flaws that we do, right?
Right, not the best human if you evaluate the qualities they give, like the spite. Or you have to adore me above everything else, otherwise I'll kill you.
Very egotistical, But it's very human. I mean, we all, even the best of us, we have this tendency. I think, I like to believe we all have this bad stuff. It depends on us to, counter and balance everything, But I think if it was really this powerful God, it wouldn't be like this, or otherwise. Yeah.
But when I look at the mysteries, I enjoy the fact that there's things that we haven't explained, because it can be anything, right? The possibilities of dimensions, like our very limited understanding and experience of space and time, which is very attached to the way that we as humans experience life. All these things are very fascinating, and I can't help but wonder what other forms of, I don't know if I would call life, of existence, would experience this phenomenon, if they ever do, or if they don't. Like, time is super intrinsic for us, and it's also very much untangible. Like, there is no past and future.
It's real, but it's also a construct that we created.
Exactly.
It happens,
it works for us, but it's non-existent at the same time. So I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. And I've recently read a book by Stephen Hawking, and he talks about this. And for them, time is something very real because time ceases to exist at a black hole. But how can we measure time here? Like I can't. It's weird.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I can say that I understand everything, but I love it.
Yeah. I read it. It's one of the books he made for really non-scientists to read, and it's very accessible. But it's still there are some concepts that we struggle to grasp, because it's very. Yeah. We can't feel it, so we have to it's very intellectual to understand. It's not something that of course we see it. And we
you
feel
can't
it.
experience, but you have to wrap your head around it. It's a challenge.
Yeah. But and now talking about exactly this, like religion, spirituality, and even philosophy, since we touched about Stoicism and things that helped us. Do you have any kind of spirituality, religion, or any guiding philosophy that helps you go through life on a daily basis?
Yeah, I can say that I'm a religious person. I was raised Catholic, as most Brazilians are, or were at our age at least. But I grew out of it. I studied Spiritism for a while, Catholicism and everything, but left that too. And then I kind of found my way, not in a religious way, but in a philosophical way through Buddhism, which eventually led me to Stoicism. So I like to study Buddhism, not from the religious part, the rituals and the practices, but from the philosophies of Siddhartha Gautama, which is the Buddha. And Stoicism, after that, I got into, and they helped me, and they have a lot of things in common, like the middle path of Buddha and temperance of Stoicism is pretty much the same thing. Impermanence and memento mori are the same thing. Amor fati and the circle of life. You see a lot of things in common, and they help me stay grounded. And I have to keep reading those, because it's not a thing that you read once and say, okay, my life has changed and now I can live like that. As you said, it's on a daily basis. You can easily forget and go back to bad habits, or get away from it and get into mental loops, just getting in a dark place. So I have those as my security blanket. Sometimes when I'm struggling with it, I have some quotes, as you do, and newsletters or passages or everything that I
actually want to tattoo here. This too shall pass.
I love the sentence.
Yeah,
absolutely. And love it.
And this side, the other one that I said to you, like, put your ass where your heart wants to be.
Yeah, that's very good. So I've tried to be like, when I found a new thing, I was always trying to say, okay, is this my thing? Is this like a spiritism? Okay, is that what I am now? Is that what I truly believe? And then when I got older, I realized that that's not very healthy. Like, you bring like a package and you have to absorb everything and make your personality 100% that. But when you are more open, you can read through a material or a body of work and see the things that resonate with you. And we kind of make our own system of beliefs and behavior after that. And I think that's what makes us more unique. And I think it's more practical in a way as well. The same way that you talk about creativity, it's more authentic when you do it with the things that you are passionate about. I think for your beliefs as well. And if you just swallow a package because there was this part of it that you liked, you perhaps are swallowing a lot of stuff that don't make sense to you. And it's not that it is wrong. It's just perhaps you read, okay, that part, it's not for me. And that's okay. And that's the approach I try to get when I stumble upon different things.
It's funny for me because this kind of approach is kind of the approach I see now too. Because I am atheist, but now I'm struggling with adopting these kind of mystic kind of views because of the stuff that I'm reading, people that I admire. And yeah, I've raised Catholic. I was also for a while Messianico. I don't know if you know about this. It's kind of this weird Japanese religion that we have here in Brazil. It's kind of popular. It's the second country in the world with most Japanese population, and we have all this stuff here. But then growing out of it and now finding philosophy and I think it's a very design way of look things or game. We do that with game design. Like we learn all these games and we pick the parts that we like and we make our own thing and for our spirituality and philosophy. We're kind of doing the same thing. Yeah, it's a game designer approach to spirituality and philosophy. And it works and helps us a lot. What are you reading now? Like you said, you're constant reading and studying kind of stuff. Is there any book you're reading now about this?
Yeah, it's one called Trying Not to Try. And this is a very good book on Taoism. And it's about very different ways that thinkers of the past thought about the effortless approach to life. It's like a Wu Wei, there's this term of going with the flow or no action, that the metaphor that they give right at the beginning is after you plant a seed and you see it sprout for a while, you won't go there and like remove it from the ground and see if that's okay and plant it back. You have to let it go. And also metaphors of like you are in a river and you can swim and you can decide some routes and you can avoid some obstacles, but you are better not fighting against the current. And there are those shocks in this book that they bring about different ways to interpret that. There are people that are saying this is through discipline. You have to practice to not try anymore. You have to try not to try. And there's this other way you have to not try not to try. So it gets, the thing is, if you go to the original source of Taoism, it can be a little hard to wrap your head around it. It's very philosophical and very mystical. This book is a Western book. So it's like a Western author bringing a view that helps us understand those concepts, understand the dichotomies of those concepts, and making use of it in our lives. And I've listened about it for the first time through Alan Watts, which was a British-American philosopher, and he recorded a lot of speeches. He would go into college and universities and everything and do his talks, I'm sorry. And he would record them. And we have records from the 60s and the 70s of him going there. And he studied Buddhism and Taoism, and he would like translate, not in the language aspect necessarily, but in the point of view.
Yeah.
Exactly, for the Western mind. And it was very helpful to me as well, this thing of seeing life not as a journey itself, because even when we use the metaphor, oh, life is a journey, you have to enjoy the moments. A journey also has a goal. And he says we should see life as a dance. The purpose of a dance is to dance. You don't have to get anywhere. You don't need to accomplish anything. There's nothing being expected from you. You just have to live and enjoy. So that resonated with me a lot. So I started investigating and ended up with this book, and I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's vision. That's life as a dance and not as a journey. It's journey. You're always aiming someplace.
Yeah.
And another very Eastern thing is about when you're like firing your bow, you are not looking at the target. You have just to feel the bow, and
yeah, exactly.
This
it's
dichotomy,
stuff.
Yeah. Be in the moment and just flow, go with the flow and see. It's very amor fati, like just
exactly.
accept where you are and just do the best that you can. Wow, excellent. I'll definitely check that out. And the title, I haven't read it, but the title brought to my mind a book that people always recommend to me called Being Aware of Being Aware. I don't know if you ever heard about it.
No, but it sounds good to me. So, yeah.
It's very similar. Trying not to try and being aware of being aware.
Of being aware. Yeah. Attention. I like the sentence as well. Pay attention to what you pay attention to.
Yeah, that's another one I have. I just finished Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holland. Very good. I think it's very, I really like him, the stuff that he writes and has been helping me a lot. But that was the Stoic book, kind of philosophical book I just finished. And now I started a game design one, the Rules of Play, the big one.
Yes, I haven't read it, but I know it. Yeah.
People talk about it. I have to read it someday,
It's kind of mandatory reading.
I've been looking at this for months, and now I finished from like I have to try this one. But I'm trying not to try. I'm gonna add this to my wish list immediately.
Yeah, I think you're gonna like it.
Yeah,
very good stuff.
This life as a dance. It's something I'm gonna have to put it in my mind now. I'm gonna take a note on my journal here about this.
Excellent.
Cezar, now with more silly, whimsical questions would be, if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you have, and what would be the first thing you would do with it?
I've had this answer since I was very young, and it's telekinesis. And I don't know why. This is something of the mysteries of the universe that I think it is.
Pranks. Telekinesis is all about the pranks. I know because I think about it too. Joking, yeah.
No, that's something that I believe. I want to believe is within the capacities of humanity. We just didn't find a way to achieve it. If you think that atoms and energy surround us and we can interfere with things, and we just assume that it's because we touch with some sort of material.
It's the force.
It's the force, exactly. And so when I saw Star Wars and that movie, John Travolta movie, Phenomenon, I guess, that he develops like a tumor in his head, and then he develops some special mental powers, including telekinesis. I always thought that would be so fun. And I think it's not the thing I like the most about the superpower. It's one thing that I think it's achievable that we just didn't click how to do. It's different from flying, that I think it would require bending. Well,
you could fly with telekinesis,
I could, I guess. But I think it's I like to believe it's in the realm of the human 2.0 in a way,
Yeah, maybe, I was dreaming about this too, if we could just, as a kid, you would go to things like that.
Exactly, I would try. I would try as a kid.
I would too,
I
think I tried as an adult too, a couple of times.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. I think I tried like in a couple of years ago, I would guess.
After a weird dream, I wake up and I just check if I didn't get any superpowers during my sleep. Just
that would be great. Why remote control? Just like,
of course. Why?
Cezar, another thing is that if you could make any weird thing or fictions or from sci-fi, fantasy, or anything you can imagine, a weird thing to make it real in our world today, what would it be and why?
I don't know if I know how to say that in English. Teletransportation, is that the term?
Teleport.
Teleport,
Teleportation.
So teleportation, I think it would be the most disruptive discovery for our societies. I'm, as I said, an architect, an urbanist. And the way that we map our cities and the way we live is very much based on the way we move. So the way that we relate, the way that we value things, the way that we divide our spaces, the way we interact with people, is very much based on the
movement,
capability of movement, on the ways of movement. And teleportation would disrupt it completely, because all of a sudden you don't need roads and streets. And how would cities be? How would buildings be? How would segmentation of sections of the city would be, of nations? Of how would diplomacy work, or the rarity of things that are hard to achieve at a certain point?
Yeah.
I think it would.
That's why in Star Trek, everybody's just one big thing, because it doesn't make any sense anymore. Yeah.
You know, that's the point. And I think it would be a different society. It's not like an invention that would like change a bit or change some parts of the society. No, I think it would disrupt completely what we believe our in society is.
Period. I think it would lead maybe to a more equanimity, because everybody could be everywhere. If it would be accessible, right?
I was thinking that if it's not a corporation that controls and only the rich can move around.
But since you are into philosophy too, the another thing that I wanted to ask, like, when we would use teleportation, would we still be ourselves when we get to other place? Because would cease to exist and
then exist again,
exist somewhere else. It's like that metaphor that they make about the boats, the Greek boats, and like every time a plank would break, they would change the plank of the boat, and after, I don't know, 50 years, there is no original planks. There is still the same boat or not? Like,
I don't think we will be the same, but I don't think we are the same already.
Yeah, that's true.
When we move,
we can never cross the same here twice.
Yeah, exactly. And we spiritually, or I don't know, mentally, and even physically, we change. Like we change 70% of ourselves every X years, 5 years, I don't know. And there is also this theory of infinite parallel dimensions, that time doesn't exist, and what we actually doing, we're jumping through dimensions, timelines, and every timeline is just a frame different from the previous one. So I think when we navigate through things, the person that started this podcast is not the person that will end. So I think we wouldn't be the same at all, but I already believe in that. So
that's true. Yeah, but my fear is that, like, this, as you said, like, that's something another something I admire a lot, called Pete Holmes, which is a comedian and has a podcast that basically inspired this podcast. That says about that we're not the same thing, and like we're not this body, we are in this conscious, and like we've discarded everything that made us who we are. We are still something, this conscious, and if you use the teletransport, would this conscience remain? How would that work? You know, that's very fascinating. Is this just the brain, or is this? It's something really weird.
Else that wouldn't survive. It's fascinating. One way to discover.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be a playtester though. I mean,
me neither.
Well, Cezar, finally, one of the last questions we have here is for you to, if you can, do you remember the last time you were really happy and grateful to be here, to be alive, and everything? And if you do, can you share with us this moment?
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's something that comes and goes very often in the lives of a creative people. I don't know if you experience the same thing, but I have a kind of hangover after I finish the creative project, that it's like an emptiness that comes. There's the joy of finishing thing and putting it out there, and then you like surf this high for a while, and then all of a sudden there is this kind of void that's trying to consume, and it's hard to stay grounded and realize that it's just a part of the process. I've heard once that's like a sound wave that has the crisp and the valley. The sound wave itself, it's both things. It's not only the crisp or the valley. So this ups and downs is not they're actually ups and downs. They're part of the same thing.
Cycle. So
it's the cycle. When you're in the down phase, you have to be very, very serene, to
Yeah.
realize that this too shall pass, as we said. Okay, this is part of the process, and we can get away and just
Yeah.
go with the flow. And what happened was I finished Midnight Melodies recently, and it was very well received. And then it come time to start working on the next project. And the dread came back, the void, the darkness. And it was a hard one this time. And it was my birthday this past week, the 15th of November. And I
Wow.
wasn't
Well,
feeling
happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. And I wasn't feeling it. I don't like to
Yeah.
celebrate much, but especially this one, I wasn't feeling
I
it.
understand.
And I had a friend of ours that we got to know here that curiously enough has the birthday the same day as I do. And he invited us for I'm going to like rent a small boat, and I'm going to the ocean, and let's have a good time. And I wasn't. The last thing that I wanted was to party in a boat, but I made some effort and I went. When I got there, they were like making the arrangements, and they were coming back soaked wet. And I said, "What happened?" "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. We were bringing the boat from the other port to here, and the boat started to sink. Water got in the engine, and we had to be rescued in floating boats and everything. So I helped them with all the party stuff, like heavy bags, and it was a lot. It was actually fun. They were not sad that they were losing the party. They were so present in the moment. And I was reminded that I didn't need anything to be grateful. I just needed to be grateful. And I looked at the situation. They were laughing at all the things that they had bought, all soaked wet, and going back to their homes and said, okay, party canceled and whatever. And that moment just it clicked for me. Then I was reminded, okay,
That's what you said. It's not about having, it's about being and doing.
It's about being. And then I went to have dinner with my wife. I said, okay, there's no party. Let's just have some dinner. And that moment, it was when I went through the valley of that darkness that comes after a creation, and I went back to feeling grateful and feeling inspired and motivated. It was a simple thing, like seeing a person looking at a small misfortune of life, a silly one, no one was in danger, but just being present and enjoying themselves, And sometimes it's like the smallest thing that gets you through dark moments, It's like when you pay attention, there's always something telling you that you can move on. So that was very recent and very important.
Very nice. It's a great lesson. Like because birthdays, I think they carry a lot of expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even other people have expectations for you to have fun. You have to have fun.
Exactly.
Why are you not having fun? It's your birthday, right?
Yeah, I know.
I feel the pressure sometimes. Sometimes I don't know. I just want to be here, have a day, and eat something good and watch something, but sometimes people, they have to see you having the best time of your life, and sometimes,
it's not the case.
Yeah. But what you did, you just spend time with friends, so that's important. People connecting, someone else that's in the same situation as you, so that's kind of empathy. And they have gone through something bad. Their boat sank, and they were okay. They were spending time with you. Yeah, and I don't know. And then you went to have dinner with a wife that someone you love, and have a great meal and just connecting. We don't need much more than this, right?
Exactly. That was the reminder. We don't need much more. Just one day after the other.
Wow. Thank you for everything. I thank you for everything you shared here, and the wisdom you're able to pass on, for the work that you do, for the ideas you're always exploring. This was a fantastic episode. I'm so grateful for having you here. And do you have any last message for the weirdos out there that are listening to us?
Keep doing what you do, man. don't question yourself, don't second guess. And if you think that's perhaps too weird, that's exactly what you should aim for. And be brave, show your stuff, put it outside, and just keep going. That's it. Thanks so much for having me. I had a blast. It was a very nice conversation.
Yeah, me too. We should do this more often, even not on the podcast. I don't know. I feel it's one of the podcasts that I made a friend. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Cezar, can you take us out saying like the catchphrase for the show, like saying, "Keep it weird, everybody."
Of course, keep it weird, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Weird Games and Weirder People. If you'd like to keep up with the show, please subscribe to be notified when we release new episodes. If you'd like to support us, please leave a review or head on to code-fi.com/WGNWP. See you next time, and remember, weird is the new wonderful.